Imagine this. You're just going about your day, making lunch in your own kitchen, when you suddenly notice a stain on your floor. Annoying, right? But what if that stain wasn't from spilled coffee or a dropped piece of food? What if that stain looked like a face? What if, no matter how hard you scrubbed, it just wouldn't go away? This isn't the start of a horror movie. It's the real-life story of the Bélmez family and one of the most baffling paranormal mysteries of the 20th century. It all started on August 23, 1971, in the small Spanish village of Bélmez de la Moraleda. A woman named Maria Gomez Camara was in her kitchen when she spotted a strange smudge on her pink cement floor. At first, she tried to clean it, but the stain resisted all her efforts. Over the next few days, something even stranger happened. Smudge began to form into a distinct, unmistakable image. The face of a man with wide, staring eyes and an open mouth, as if in agony. Freaked out, Maria's husband, Juan Pereira, and their son, Miguel, took a pickaxe to the kitchen floor. They smashed the concrete, dug up the earth beneath, and poured a fresh layer of cement. For a week, everything was normal. The family breathed a sigh of relief. But then, it happened again. A new face began to appear in the exact same spot. This time, it was even clearer, more defined. Words spread like wildfire through the small village. Neighbors, skeptics, and the curious flocked to the Pereira home at number 5, Cale Real. The local newspaper caught wind of the story, and soon, the faces of Bélmez became a national sensation. The mayor, initially skeptical, ordered the family not to destroy the new face. He wanted it investigated. So they carefully cut out the section of the floor with the face and had it preserved for study. But the story doesn't end there. After the second face was removed, the real show began. More faces started appearing, not just one, but dozens. They emerged on the kitchen floor, on the walls, even on the hearth. There were faces of men, women, and children. Some looked serene, others were contorted in pain or anguish. They would appear, fade, and then be replaced by new ones. It was like a constantly changing gallery of ghostly portraits, right in the family's home. At this point, you're probably thinking what everyone else was thinking. This has to be a hoax, right? It's certainly what many researchers and investigators thought. The authorities decided to get to the bottom of it. They conducted a controlled experiment. The entire kitchen was sealed off. The floor was photographed and covered with a plastic sheet, and the doors and windows were sealed with wax by a notary public. The house was left untouched for 3 months. When the seals were broken and the investigators re-entered the kitchen, everyone was stunned. New faces had appeared on the floor, right under the sealed plastic. And not just that, the existing faces had shifted and changed their expressions. How could anyone have tampered with a room that was officially sealed? This result only deepened the mystery and fueled the debate. Perhaps psychologists and paranormal enthusiasts were fascinated. One of the most prominent researchers to study the case was a German professor named Hans Bender. He was a leading figure in parapsychology and saw the Bélmez's faces as a genuine paranormal phenomenon. He believed the faces were a form of telekinesis, or thoughtography, that Maria Gomez Camara was unconsciously projecting the images onto the floor with her mind, especially during times of emotional stress. Think about it. The faces often seemed to reflect Maria's own moods. She was upset or anxious, the faces would appear more tormented. This theory suggested that Maria was a psychic medium, but one who had no control over her abilities. The house itself became an extension of her subconscious. It's a compelling idea, but it's pretty hard to prove. While the parapsychologists were exploring psychic theories, the skeptics were looking for more down-earth explanations. They proposed that the faces were simply created with paint or some other chemical agent. Several chemical analyses were performed on samples from the floor. Some tests found no traces of paint or dye. However, one analysis conducted by the Spanish Ministry of the Interior did find evidence of pigments like zinc, lead, and chromium. The report concluded that the faces were likely painted, but this didn't explain everything. How did the paintings get there in a sealed room? Why did they change and morph over time? The pro-hoax camp suggested that the Pereira family was faking the phenomenon for financial gain. After all, their humble home had become a major tourist attraction, bringing in money from visitors who wanted to see the ghostly faces for themselves. Miguel Maria's son was often singled out as the likely artist. But the family always denied any wrongdoing, insisting the faces were real and that they were as scared and confused as anyone. To add another layer of weirdness to the story, investigators decided to excavate under the kitchen floor, and what they found was truly chilling. About 10 feet down, they discovered a collection of human skeletons, some of which were headless. Historical records revealed that the house had been built over an old cemetery, dating back to Roman and medieval times. Could the faces be the spirits of the people buried beneath the house, trying to make their presence known? It's a spooky thought, and it gave the paranormal explanation a huge boost. For over 30 years, the faces continued to appear, evolve, and disappear in the Pereira home. The phenomenon seemed to be intrinsically linked to Maria Gomez Camara. Many believed that if she were to leave the house, the faces would stop appearing. And that's exactly what seemed to happen. When she passed away in 2004 at the age of 85, the activity in the house reportedly began to fade. But the story takes another twist. After Maria's death, a new wave of faces supposedly started appearing in the house where she was born, not the one she lived in. Skeptical researchers, including a rationalist group called the Spanish Society for Paranormal Research, claimed to have debunked these new faces. They argued that these new images were clearly faked, possibly with a combination of photo editing software and simple trickery, in an attempt to keep the lucrative Bélmez legend alive. So, where does that leave us? On one hand, you have compelling evidence that seems to defy logical explanation. The appearance of faces in a sealed room, the discovery of a graveyard under the house, and the sheer longevity of the phenomenon for over 3 decades. Parapsychologists like Hans Bender were convinced it was a genuine case of psychokinetic activity. On the other hand, you have the skeptical viewpoint, backed by some chemical analysis and the undeniable financial motive. The possibility of an elaborate, long-running hoax orchestrated by the family is hard to dismiss entirely. Could a simple village family really pull off such a sophisticated deception for so long, fooling experts and investigators from around the world? The truth of the Bélmez voices remains one of the great unsolved mysteries. Was it a genuine, terrifying haunting? A powerful psychic manifestation from an unsuspecting woman? Or was it one of the most clever and enduring hoaxes ever perpetrated? To this day, the debate rages on. The house in Bélmez still stands, a silent testament to the strange events that unfolded within its walls. The faces may have faded, but their story continues to captivate and puzzle anyone who hears it. What do you think? Are you a believer, convinced that something supernatural was at play? Or are you a skeptic? Sure, there's a rational explanation we just haven't fully uncovered yet. Let me know your theories down in the comments. It's a case where the more you learn, the less you feel you know for sure. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this dive into the unexplained, make sure to like and subscribe for more mysteries. See you next time.